Two of the two Dum Yinzers. I want to say to everybody this morning, Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah.
Today actually is the day that most. This is true. The true stuff. Today, more dick pics are sent than any other day of the year. I kid you not. True fact. Finch could
Guilty.
attest to this. Yes. But it is Valentine's Day. I do want to say, everybody with a big heart, welcome back. Let me introduce the crew. I've been packing his chocolate box for over 20 years. A good friend of mine and the host of the Two Cranky Jagoffs. Finch, what's up, my man? Happy Valentine's Day to you, sir.
Happy Valentine's Day to you too, sir. And just a quick note on today's episode of the Two Cranky Jagoffs. We actually have nothing today. And the reason is, being Valentine's Day, both of our wives have made plans for us. And Tim wasn't aware that his wife had made plans until yesterday. He just told me like 18 hours ago. So there shouldn't be a show tonight. However, we are getting together on Sunday. So in 2 days from now, Tim and his nephew Ryan, who is frequent on the show and fact checks us a lot in the chat, is going to show up here, and we are going to do a show on Sunday. So,
and what time is that going to be, Finch?
We're going to try to shoot for the regular time of 9:30.
Nice,
awesome.
So I apologize on short notice about tonight. This is something that just kind of happened last night. However, we do plan on doing a makeup show, and I was still try to put some kind of content together, maybe a quick video that I can premiere later tonight. So maybe look for that. There'll be something going on.
Valentine's Day never fails. Never fails. It always finds a way to piss off people, especially men.
Yeah.
But more power to you. You guys should have a lot of fun. Happy Valentine to you and your significant other. Next on the panel, he stole my heart. Literally, he stole my box of chocolates, the heart, and he has it right now, and he won't give it back.
I won't.
Mike Mahler, what's up, Mike? How you doing?
What
today,
up,
man?
buddy?
What up?
I am pumped up. I am ready for today's show. I completely forgot it was Valentine's Day, and I am okay with that. Because I'm here with
because you don't have a vagina. That's why you're okay.
I was gonna say I'm here with my two Valentines.
All right.
And
Dude, Jack and Daniels.
American and honey.
What was the old one? Guys?
With a little day drink on a Friday, Finch. Don't shame me here, okay?
What was the old one? That Rosie Palm, your five sisters or some shit.
Yeah. She was a friend of mine back
day.
when I was about 12.
We all dated 12.
Whoa! We gotta call the feds on this one.
I'm just thinking.
She was the same age.
I was with Rosie at 12 o'clock last night. What are you talking about?
Well, I was just saying the first time we met.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Friday installment of the Two Dum Yinzers. I did want to tell our little Cupid. I did want to tell him Happy Valentine's Day too, but again, he's still been under the weather. He tried to make an attempt yesterday, actually. Excuse me, to come onto the show, and he did well. But I think he's off for the weekend. We'll have him back next week. Our own little Cupid, Derpy, and that little guy on his symbol, on his little emblem he has, it looks like a little Cupid, doesn't it? A little blonde with the thing there. And
yeah.
So he is our little Cupid.
It's cute.
Yeah. Guys, the fight between Patrick Mahomes Sr. and John Rocker. Now, please tell me that this is true. I caught wind yesterday. We talked a little bit about these two. They get into a fight during Super Bowl week, John Rocker and Patrick Mahomes Sr. Now, somebody I work with at a radio station told me that this was actually going to turn into one of these fights, one of these promotional exhibition deals that they put on. Does anybody know this to be true, or is this just speculation, like what's going on with the Steelers?
Like I kind of said yesterday, yeah, like at the Super Bowl, they got into like a shouting match with each other, and then like the Barstool people, they're like put it together to where it's going to be like a fight type thing. The founder of Barstool wants to make it a full-fledged like fight, like a charity type fight, or like a entertainment versus entertainment type fight type thing. So yeah, it's gonna happen, with gloves and shit.
I gotta be honest, I like this one. I mean, you put the other one together. You had Mike Tyson. Everybody knows him. That's really good for promotion. And the Paul kid. But this guy's, to me, it's a classic because again, John Rocker's story. back in the early 90s. He had all these problems with people from New York because of the diversity. And now you get him into the ring with, the super, the NFL's almost GOAT's dad. I think this is interesting. I don't know what it is, guys, now that everybody has to be 50 or over to be in these boxing matches.
Right.
But you know what? This one I think that I'll watch. I think it'll probably be on, one of these streaming networks. I would like to watch Finch. Who wins ultimately when it comes down to it? When you have a fight, in my head, I picture like the old celebrity death matches on MTV, tearing each other's heads off. But in reality,
blood and gore.
Right. But in reality, as you've seen the Mike Tyson fight, it's a lot less exciting than that. Finch, who has the edge when you're talking Patrick Mahomes Sr. and John Rocker?
So, first off, I would need to see some sort of either current pictures or video or a tail of the tape. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to say. I could say, oh, well, John Rocker was a pro. I mean, they were both athletes, right? Obviously, Rocker, but his dad as well was like he
was a pirate,
a baseball player or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously the guy at one point in his life, 30, 40 years ago, or however long it was, also these guys are probably in their 50s, I would imagine.
Yeah,
right?
I would guess 50s, yeah.
So it's not like they're ancient. They're not like, 70 or whatever.
Right.
When you first mentioned a story on the show yesterday, my first thought was, oh my God, these guys got to be in their 70s. Patty Mahomes' dad's got to be 70. And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, Pat Mahomes is only 28 years old or whatever he is. And so when you start to get into your 40s, your thoughts of age kind of change and you don't always realize it, which is my problem. I feel like I'm younger than I really am.
Because you figure in the 90s, John Rocker was in his 20s. So 30 years puts him in his mid to late 50s.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And if I remember correctly, John Rocker was a pretty big dude, wasn't he?
Wasn't
he like
was
over 6 feet tall? And
he was stalked like a big guy.
He was the guy that would come fucking hauling ass out of the bullpen, right? And he would run. He had about 3 or 4 really great seasons in the mid 90s there, including the World Series win, right?
I
think it was with them when they won their one World Series in like 96, I think it was.
Very possible, but he was intimidation was his game.
That was his thing. He would stare him down.
Right. He'd come sprinting out of the bullpen, breathing real hard, the whole thing. It was effective. He was a good relief pitcher. And
you know what? I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him in that fight. Just based on my thoughts of him and remembering back the more you talk about it and stuff. Yeah.
And we know, Finch, that obviously Patrick Mahomes got most of his chromosomes and genes from his mother's side. So unless his dad is just this, really tough guy, I can't imagine his dad's that tough just by looking and seeing Patrick Mahomes and his body language. And it just seems to me that his dad wouldn't be a real tough guy. But I guess you never know, right?
That's true. And he does. Here's one advantage that Pat Mahomes' dad, what's his name?
Pat.
His name is Pat Sr.? Okay.
Yeah.
So if Mr. Pat, his son is currently not just a pro athlete, but the pro athlete in the country right now, right?
Right.
So the young man, Pat, is probably been getting on his old man's case about staying in shape and, providing him everything he needs to do that. He could be in great shape and we'd have no idea. Yeah, you ever see a guy like wear a sweater, then he takes it off and he's fucking built as hell and you had no idea? He could be that guy, sneaky. He could be.
But you know Patrick Mahomes' dad's he's an alcoholic.
Yeah, I was gonna say he finds himself into trouble quite often.
That I didn't know. I don't know anything about his dad.
But John Rocker also looks like that classic. It has that classic bully type attitude where I think he's going to get punched in. If he does get punched in the mouth, he won't know what to do.
Like, I don't know. Some bullies do know how to.
He runs his mouth a lot.
Yeah.
He just I don't know. He looks like a bitch.
You know what?
You're probably right.
See, I disagree. I think he's
never like John Rocker.
I think that fake bullies are like that, but people that are bullies for over 30 years, I just think that's who you are. And I think it'll be good. I'm certainly getting in on that. And we can certainly make it interesting here on the show if Mike and Finch and Derby would like to do so. I think that I'll be down for that. But first, we have to confirm and find out that this is even happening, when it's happening, and all those details as well.
What I saw is like sometime in April.
Okay, at least it's not one of these 1.5 things like they did with the Tyson and Paul fight. That took forever.
These guys are professional fighters. They don't need that time to get ready.
Good morning to Jen on the board. What's up?
Hi,
Happy
Jen.
Valentine's Day to you. P, what's up, my brother? He says Rocker brought us Kenny Powers.
Hell yeah, baby. Dad? Kenny Powers, baby.
And then
underrated show. That
Great
was
show.
a phenomenal TV show. Eastbound and Down.
And then
Great
also,
show.
good morning to over enthusiastic Mod Caleb. He says Barstool is the worst. Barstool is worse than every single Philly sports radio combined. Then double.
Yeah. And Barstool was terrible and toxic, but there are a couple
Barstool was
people
pretty
on
good
there
when
like-
it first came out years ago. It
Yeah.
was funny because it was at like edgy humor added in. It was like they took all the best of what like Sports Center had in the late
Yeah.
90s and early 2000s and had those kind of guys. And Barstool started out really great, and then it just, I don't know if it got like corporate ownership but it just went downhill, man.
Yeah.
It used to be good though.
Yeah, I like PFT and
Yeah.
Big Cat. That's about all I watched from that note.
Big Cat's the only guy that I ever really liked.
Yeah.
he's all right. He
Pete
makes
says, I
good
still have a
memes.
Pat Mahomes
Yep.
rookie baseball card. Pat Mahomes rookie baseball card. You know what? I may too. Everybody may. The thing was, we all had baseball cards in the early 90s, and I guess he played in the early 2000s. But I'm just saying, if you go back and look at the base, what we did when we were kids, you had millions of baseball cards, and chances are, you knew your 5 favorite guys, and then you knew the other guys who were popular. So again, somebody may have a lot of Patrick Mahomes cards just laying around somewhere, and they might not even know it, Finch.
Absolutely. I know that when I was younger, one year in particular, I think it was 1989, I have the 1989 complete set that somebody had given me. So every single baseball card from that year. And I remember pulling out all the Pirates and pulling out a couple of other players.
Yeah.
Like Canseco was big and a couple other ones. And I took that box and put it in the closet, and I've never seen it since. I got that when I was like 6.
Right, nice.
So I have no idea what happened to that box. It disappeared.
out.
So there could have been some great.
In 2029, because then what would it be, about 40 years? Did you say 89?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's gone. I think it's completely disappeared. I mean, I've moved a couple of times since I was 6 or 7 years old, and I don't have it anymore. So I still have a few cards from that set, but I don't have the set anymore. And it's a shame because 1989 had a lot of great players.
It sure did.
MLB. And there were a lot of good cards in there.
Mod Caleb says, did Ryan just have a stroke while reading my message? I did. I'm still trying to understand what that message said. Sticky B says it's hot garbage now. I guess he's talking about Barstool.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I
Yeah.
do want to say good morning to Sticky B.
Sticky B.
Sticky B. I love that name, especially on Valentine's Day. Harmon says, hello, I would love to play with you next time. This is my Discord username. James Logan, well, welcome to you, and good morning, James. And also over enthusiastic Mod Caleb, he says, I have worked with several women's broadcasters who said some unsavory things about their time at Barstool and signed an NDA, so they can't talk about it. Interesting.
Doesn't surprise me with the dude who owns it and runs it.
Really?
Yeah, he's been implicated in some stuff that I've read before. Yeah.
Well, guys, let's get into some talk here. We got the football talk. Let me start with this. A little bit of talk about the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes, real quick. Again, I'm just trying to finish out the Super Bowl stuff so we can be done. But this is one that I couldn't ignore and I couldn't not talk about, Mike Finch. Did you guys see the lady with the voodoo doll of Patrick Mahomes at the Super Bowl? And she's stabbing it away.
I saw a couple good memes with it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Now, is there any? And again, who knows? Who knows what the hell's going on in the world? Is there any weight held to people that do this? And any way you slice it, they did not win the Super Bowl this year, and Patrick Mahomes did get annihilated from beginning to end. Guys, was the witchcraft used by this lady at the Super Bowl? Did that help the Philadelphia Eagles become world champions?
I think so, because the voodoo magic that the Chiefs have been using the past 4 to 5 years, it seems like. I wonder if this is the lady that Mahomes got his voodoo magic from, and he never paid her back like he was supposed to. And she decided, you know what, I'm going to exact my revenge in your biggest moment of your life. And she was in there just going to town. So I'm buying into it now.
The part that's left out of your story, Mike, if I can just for a moment.
Yeah.
Apparently, Patrick Mahomes Sr. was given the check to drop off at the voodoo lady's house, and apparently it never got dropped off. And this is why this is what, hey, just hearsay. Jen saying voodoo doll in New Orleans. It's fitting. Come on, guys, Finch. Voodoo?
Did John Rocker prevent that check from getting there? Is that what happened? Is that what started the whole fight?
Maybe. That's where he was on his way to. He was on his way to deposit that check, and John Rocker got all racy. Or
Got
whatever
all
the
up in
hell
his way.
Exactly.
What are you doing, Pat?
Yeah. Running down the alleyway after him like he used to run from the bullpen.
Right, with a
I
that
can
look
see it
on his
now.
face, like a bull, like an angry bull.
Over enthusiastic Maud Caleb, we were riding into the weekend. Steelers in position to win the Super Bowl of the offseason like they did last year, I guess. My local Permani brothers went out of business, bringing back the Dangerous Sandwich, worst Valentine's Day
I thought
ever.
I would not have known that was Caleb that made that comment. As I was reading it, I didn't look at the user, and I thought for sure it was Feel the Steel. I'm like, Feel the Steel is going off today. And then Ryan's like, over enthusiastic mod, Caleb says. And I'm like, what the flip? And sure enough. So, good stuff there.
Yeah, this is the worst Valentine's I've had since I caught chlamydia from two of Derpy's midget porn actresses. So, yeah.
Well, that was they wouldn't give you the medication, remember? you needed the
yeah.
referral, and then you had to go back out to Pittsburgh, downtown, and then
Yeah.
that was a disaster.
It was a whole thing. That's when I became radicalized for socialized medicine. It's like my chlamydia episode from the midgets, you know?
Yeah.
Damn Derpy.
Interesting times.
Oh, Finch getting some mood lighting. Finch heard midgets, and he's like, "Oh, let's get the lights going."
Get that mood lighting.
Corey Beavers, what's up, my man? Good morning. Every Super Bowl champion has had to travel west, so I think that's it.
I think you're right. For most of them, I've had to travel westerly to win.
Who played in the New York Super Bowl? Wasn't that Denver and Seattle? I guess
the one that Seattle thumped Denver.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's outliers to every theory.
Well, no, it just popped into my head. I mean, it's fine. I don't.
Yeah, we could move the goalpost to make this work.
Guys, here's. All right, we talk a little Patty Mahomes. Let's talk about Patty Mahomes versus Terry Bradshaw. You know, nobody will consider Terry Bradshaw one of the greatest quarterbacks. He was a really good quarterback on one of the greatest teams. No two ways about that. But there's no secret that the defense was key in this for winning all those Super Bowls. Terry did a lot along the way. But, guys, let's take a little bit of a look at the comparison. Excuse me. Terry Bradshaw, in his Super Bowls, he went 4-0. Patrick Mahomes, 3-2. 3-2. 4-0, 3-2. Terry Bradshaw, 233 yards per game passing as the Steeler quarterback. Patty Mahomes, 265, a little about 30 yards more. Patrick Mahomes, 10 touchdowns in the Super Bowls. Terry Bradshaw, 9 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Patty Mahomes, 7 interceptions. Terry Bradshaw, 4 interceptions in the Super Bowl. 6.8 yards per average for Patty Mahomes. 11.1 yards per average for Terry Bradshaw. In this one, I'm not real sure what it means, but the statistic is touchdown percentage. 5.1 touchdown percentage for Patty Mahomes, 10.7 touchdown percentage for Terry Bradshaw. So, you know, I mean, a lot of this goes to, you know, people were saying the GOAT, he's better than Brady. He's doing so much. But he hasn't even surpassed Terry Bradshaw, who's not even considered one of the best quarterbacks ever, guys.
Pat Mahomes is definitely the better athlete of Brady, Bradshaw, and whatnot. And it's, you know, Pat also, I hate to be that guy to be like, oh, the old guys are the best and the old way is the way. But Pat also benefits a lot, as did Brady, from rules. The rules are way different now.
Yeah.
Bradshaw did what he did in a time that was very unfriendly to quarterbacks. And that has to be noted, and that makes it impressive. And Terry's not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of those guys from the 70s and 80s. Joe Montana from the 80s especially did a lot. And he is a great passer, don't get me wrong. He's definitely closer to Pat Mahomes than Terry Bradshaw is in terms of pure passing talent and ability to lead. That's another thing. You know, Pat Mahomes also has an unbelievable offensive mind behind him with Andy Reid. Whereas, I'm not saying Chuck isn't a great offensive mind, but Chuck Noll was a defensive guy. And I think that might also be a part of it. Terry's brain power also contributed a lot to those Steelers offenses winning games. He would draw plays up in the dirt. That's how they did it back then. So I think Terry should have a lot of credit for that as well.
And like Pete said, like, you know, Terry may have trouble reading a book, but he could read a defense. And like you said, Finch,
you only need 2 letters, bro. X and O when
X
you're reading
and O,
football.
baby. Yeah. And like he called his own plays too.
Yeah,
you know, he
right.
was his own offensive coordinator. And like a lot of quarterbacks today could do the same thing too, but they don't have to, so they don't have that skill set. But you know, the thing with Terry Bradshaw is you look at his regular season numbers, they're ass. They're terrible.
They're not
you
great.
You look at his postseason numbers. They're up there, like Ryan said, up there with Mahomes, up there with Brady, up there with Montana.
Super Bowl MVP.
Yes, 2-time Super Bowl
Twice.
MVP. So yeah, Mahomes is 2-time Super Bowl MVP as well. But like they all like, you know.
Hey, Mike, listen to this. Let's say he blows his knee out this next season. Mike, if he blows his knee out next season and doesn't put his cleats on the field ever again, he blows his knee out next season, never puts on his cleats ever again. By these numbers, Terry Bradshaw outperformed Patty Mahomes in the playoffs in Super Bowls.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl. Yeah, like, you know, that's the thing, that Bradshaw was the big time player. You know, he never lost. You know, Brady has lost in the Super Bowl. All these quarterbacks have lost, and there's what Bradshaw more or less standing by his lonesome. Like
Bradshaw and Montana.
That should be like the GOAT of like your Super Bowl quarterbacks would be those guys.
You never hear that name though, Mike.
No, you never hear Terry's name, and I think it is too, like Finch said, part of like the era that he played into. But you look at like Terry's first 5-6 years in the league, he was just a god awful quarterback, and then he started to get a whole hell of a lot better, overshadowed by those defenses, and then really shined in those last 2 Super Bowls. But a lot of stuff works in against Terry, but like you said, Ryan, you look at his Super Bowl numbers, better than Mahomes, better than Brady. The only one that's comparable is Joe Montana.
So, I mean, I just wanted to bring that up because there's a lot to say about Patty Mahomes these days, and you know, people are already crowning him the GOAT, but still, he hasn't surpassed Tom.
Also, keep in mind,
Bradshaw.
There's this thing called recency bias. You know what I mean? Like everybody has been on the Tom Brady train for 10 years as the GOAT because it's still a recent thing.
Yeah.
In 20 years from now, you know, let's say another quarterback rises in the next 10 years and goes on to win 3 or 4 Super Bowls in a short amount of time, in less than a decade or whatever. They'll start goating that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's the guy and he's a great quarterback and he's leading teams the way that Pat Mahomes leads his team,
like
the way that Tom Brady led his team. Every
basketball player was going to be the next Jordan.
Yeah.
Every hockey player is going to be the next Gretzky or
next Gretzky or Lemieux. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I mean, recency bias is a real thing, and it's especially real in the media because who are they trying to advertise to whenever you watch ESPN or the Fox News Sports, they're advertising to people in that like 18 to 34 range. Those are the guys that are watching the most sports television, right? Yep. So they're going to use recency bias to draw in those people because they know them.
Yeah.
You can't do a 1-hour episode of 2 guys chatting about Terry Bradshaw and expect people to actually watch it.
Yeah.
For a long amount of time. There'll be some old guys like us or our dads or whatever who would, but the people that they're aiming to get, you know, that's a lot of it too. So when you see the sports media really hammering home that this guy is the GOAT or this guy's better than this guy, a lot of that is recency bias because they're trying to appeal to a certain audience. And that's just how it goes in television in America.
But like a common theme with Brady, Bradshaw, Mahomes, they all have what Ryan always talks about, that X factor, that one thing that's going to get you over. So I don't think you can go wrong with any 3 of those quarterbacks, you know.
Yeah.
All those guys are welcome to be the Steelers quarterback next season to me. Like, you give me any of those guys, even Bradshaw in his prime, I will take him.
Absolutely.
And Bradshaw, I think Bradshaw would be better in today's game than back in the 70s because Bradshaw was a mobile quarterback. He was able to run. He has the similar skill set to a Justin Fields. You know, like go back and watch some of those early Bradshaw games. He couldn't read a defense to save his life, but you know, he had that X factor of, you know, he was able to get it together and biggest strike. Yeah, the bright lights on, he was able to win. But yeah, like give any 3 of those quarterbacks, oh my God. I'd love to have them in their prime today as a Steeler.
All right, let's jump back on the board, guys. So we
Yeah.
don't get we're getting piled up here. Every Super Bowl. Okay, let's see. What about the LA Rams Super Bowl victory? Was it in Hawaii? I think it was actually in LA, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. Corey says no, they just had to drive from the facility, I guess.
You had to
All
drive
right.
west. Yeah, hell yeah.
If you put it that way, I guess there's no way to argue that. P. Morton says Terry may have had trouble reading. Okay, we got that. We had that up on the board. Jen, sounds like a day at the Oval Office with Monica Lewinsky, smoking cigars and drinking beer in the sauna. Sounds like fun. Always sounds like a lot of fun, especially on Valentine's Day.
I don't hate any of that.
I don't either. Sticky B says the Chiefs' Eagle reign of terror is over. I don't think I've ever seen them get beat down like that. It's a copycat league, and the blueprint is out now. You know what they remind me of, Mike? And I said this a couple years ago, and I was wrong. But you get the team every 10 years. I think last decade's was who was it? The Seahawks. But you do get a team that gets strong and goes to the Super Bowl and is one of the better teams for 2 to 5 year period of time, and then they disappear. And but I don't know if that's the case for these guys. If Mahomes is the guy that we all think that he is, this will continue on and annoy us and wish that we were dead for the next 8 years.
Can I make an example?
Please.
Remember when Tom Brady won 3 Super Bowls in the early 2000s? Steelers came in, won a Super Bowl, and then 2 years later, Tom Brady shreds his knees out for a whole season, right? Or what was his knee or his elbow, whatever. I forget. It was a knee. Yeah. We all said it. Oh, Tom Brady's done. Patriots are done. We won't have to hear from those guys. Maybe a couple more decent seasons. They're not going to be the dominant force. Yeah. They come back next year and have a perfect fucking season.
Yeah.
And then they go a couple more years and still make a Super Bowl. They lost a couple Super Bowls, but then they go and they win 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
And the only 2 players that were on, 3 players, Vinatieri was one of them.
Yeah.
The only players that were on all those teams was Tom Brady and not player, but the coach Belichick. If you have those 2 guys, they had a shot. And they had the right ownership that allowed them to run that organization the right way. And guess what? Reed, Mahomes. If Reed can stay in the NFL, and I don't mean to be morbid, but if he could stay healthy for 10 more years and coach for 10 more years, he's getting a little bit older. He doesn't take good care of himself. Everybody knows it. We've all seen the pictures of him with the Waffle House menu. If those 2 guys can stay together for 10 more years, right. They were right, exactly. If those 2 guys can stay together for 10 more years, I don't care who they have on their team. They can make moves and they can win football games. Are they going to be as successful as Belichick? It's hard to say because that is a very high standard now. But when you have that combination of that quarterback that plays the way that he does, as you guys have been hammering home for weeks now, that kind of guy like Mahomes, as long as they can keep Andy Reid and do things the Reid way, there's no reason to believe that they can't be competitive for at least another 5, 6, 10 more seasons.
And it is a copycat league. I agree with that. Teams are going to try and do that. Teams are going to try and beat them by rushing 4. But are they going to have that front 4 the Eagles have, and they're going to have that back 7 the Eagles have too to be able to withstand.
You're talking about a very, very good Eagles defense. One of the greatest defensive performances in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
Right. Not every team has that. Very few teams have that. And also, Andy Reid is a smart coach. He is able to adapt and overcome. If he sees that what's working and what's not working against him, he can definitely figure his way out of that. And he has the quarterback who has the talent and the know-how to make any plan work.
As far as plan and preparation, also, there's a lot of time spent making, State Farm commercials, this and that. You know who was not making State Farm commercials? The Philadelphia Eagles. Just saying, somebody got to focus more on their work. Other people did not. And
do it in the off season.
What's that?
Like it's a joke. I know. I got too pedantic. I'm sorry on that one.
Corey Beaver says the original TB12. That's right. We're talking about some Tom Brady. P almost won. You know what? Montana almost did win, and I only remember that because they beat the Steelers 16.
He should have been the Steeler quarterback that year.
13. I remember the year real well, actually. Barry Foster had a great year for the Steelers, but that was
1,600 yards rushing, something like that.
That was the very end of the career, though, for Joe Montana. At the time, I didn't want him to do, but now looking back, I kind of wish that he would have. Over enthusiastic Mod Caleb. Wasn't Bradshaw's last Super Bowl victory when players wore leather helmets? Yeah, pretty much, right? Roger, what's up, my man? Good morning to you, sir. Steelers quarterbacks in general don't get the respect they deserve. I would take Big Ben over every quarterback in this era, including Brady. You know what? I would agree with that, Mike and Finch and Roger as well. They just don't get that respect. I mean,
No.
I've heard from every Yinzer and every relative ahead of me about how great Terry Bradshaw was my whole life. But then you get older and you start talking to people outside of Pittsburgh, and that story changes. And you start reading stats and you're like, oh, you know what? He wasn't as great as everybody says. But I got to tell you, at the end of the day, the things that Ben Roethlisberger was able to do from season to season for almost 2 decades was amazing. And the fact that he's not touted as one of the top quarterbacks, I think nails this point home for Roger, and it hits it right on the head, because Ben Roethlisberger should be getting so much more credit. They don't even put him in the top 5 list of quarterbacks from that era, which is ridiculous. I mean, not just because he won a couple Super Bowls, but he did the only quarterback to throw 500 yards twice in a row. And I mean, the list went on 12 touchdowns in 2 games. He has amazing records, but I think Roger hits it on the head. Why is it, Mike, that the mainstream media will never give the Steeler quarterbacks their due diligence?
Because all they do is run the ball and play good defense. Any quarterback can win in that. And that was the knock on Bradshaw, and that was the knock on Ben. Oh, they got great players around.
How can you look at Ben's numbers, Mike, and say that? You know what I mean? How can they look at Ben's numbers and say this guy is in the top 10 everything?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the knock on Ben was like, oh, any quarterback can win in that system. You got to go from 1980 to whenever we drafted Ben, that 20-year drought of no, it's proven any quarterback can't win in this system. It takes someone special, and Ben was that someone special.
Also, there are things that can't be put into statistical form.
Yeah.
And very few players in the NFL history have that non-stat ability. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you could look and say, oh, Lawrence Taylor, he's one of those guys, right? LT. It didn't matter. Just him being on the field, he could have 0 tackles, 0 sacks in a game, and he will still affect the game because he had that factor. Ben Roethlisberger has some of that.
Mm-hmm.
The way he could shrug off defenders. If there was a statistic for, I know there's a statistic for running backs, like first contact, yards after contact. If there was some sort of stat for QBs, and maybe there is on Pro Football Focus or one of these insane sites, if there was a stat, yards thrown after contact, Ben Roethlisberger would be so far ahead of every other quarterback in NFL history. The way he would shrug off guys who were even almost as big as him, or guys who weighed 50 pounds more than him. He could shrug them off, throw them aside, stiff arm him like a running back, and then throw the ball 50 yards in the air to Santonio Holmes for a long touchdown.
On a dime.
I remember
on a dime. And he got better as he got older. His best seasons were after he went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, and it's such a shame, that brings back this whole conversation about Tomlin wasting his career. We're not having that today, but it's a real shame, because if he'd have won one more, especially in that like 2015, 16, 17 years when we had the killer bees.
Just one more, I think.
One more, and he's in that conversation,
I think if he gets one more, he goes 3 for 4 in Super Bowls. I think it's such a different story.
It's an unavoidable conversation at that point.
Yeah,
we're talking about Eli missing the Hall of Fame last week, and Eli, as good as he wasn't as good as Ben.
No, absolutely not.
No.
And somehow he gets into all the conversation. Sure, his name has a lot to do with that. The fact that he beat the GOAT. Ben never beat the GOAT in the playoffs. Okay, got to give him that. But still, Ben was an amazing guy. Once said, like I said, the non-numericals, let's go with that.
Yeah,
that's what he had.
Yeah, the way he was able to keep the play alive. That pump fake that he had the greatest pump fake in NFL history.
You know who was fooled by more pump fakes than anybody else with Ben Roethlisberger? The cameras. I don't know how many times you would see him pump fake and the camera would jerk to the receivers, and then there'd be nothing, and then you look back and a receiver on the other side of the field's already got the ball because he threw it down to this guy. Unbelievable talent. Some skills that cannot be put into number form. That holds Ben back from a lot of people's minds. A lot of people just look at yards, touchdowns, wins, and those are great. Those are big stats.
And then Pittsburgh always had a great team. He didn't have to do anything, and that was always a knock on him.
Ready to hop back on the board, guys. Corey Beaver says, Roger, I wouldn't. I love Big Ben, but in their primes, I'm taking Brady. If I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, I hate Brady, but you can't deny greatness. And Ben had some accuracy issues at times. Yinzer Joe, what's up, brother? He says, what's going
What
on, Yinzers? Roger says, Corey, Brady threw 5-yard passes and got a lot of yak yards. And as soon as he left, or as soon as he felt a little pressure, he would throw the ball into the ground. And because he couldn't move, the NFL changed the rules.
That was how you took care of Brady back then, was you had to get him mobile. If Brady was out of the pocket and they kept him moving, you could stop him.
Yeah, but
That's
you
how
know
it
what?
worked for years.
How
He
accurate
still
is
could
that
throw
for
it.
every great quarterback? What did we have to
Yeah.
do to beat Peyton Manning
Hit
the year we went to the Super Bowl? You just
Get
had
him
to
out of the pocket.
You
Yeah.
had to get him out of the pocket, and it worked. We focused on that. We game planned around that. Joey Porter was in his ass all game.
All the time.
I mean, obviously, a lot of other things happened through the course of that game that that decided it. But at the end of the day, I don't think if we don't get to Peyton Manning the way that we did consistently, we don't win that game. It's a whole different game, and 21-18 is not the score. But that's what you got to do to these good quarterbacks. Quarterbacks that will pick you apart. You got to get them off their rhythm. Back on the board, let's see. Corey Beaver says, you take what the defense gives you. You're taking 5-yard passes or throwing away when you can't get 10 or 20. Just saying, I hate them. They're defending Brady, but his decision making was better. Roger said not to mention the cheating they did year after year.
Oh yeah, Spygate, baby, Spygate.
Ben says, or I'm sorry, P says Ben was a pocket passer that a DB couldn't tackle. Yinzer Joe says, all I know is Ben ran around when protection broke down and got rid of the ball for big plays. Sometimes even ran over a linebacker or DB.
And Ben trained his receivers to look for him to do that. His receivers did
Brady
great jobs.
Went all out like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Finch.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't.
No, you're good. What was you saying?
Ben did a really good job of training his receivers to look for that.
Yeah.
Because Ben knew that was a strong suit of his own, and he had his receivers. And Hines, I remember watching an interview with Hines. When Hines would talk about how Ben would mention to him, like, "Hey, man, if it's 3 seconds and I haven't thrown a ball yet, just run."
Yeah, I'll find you somewhere.
And he would. I mean, his skill was just so amazing. Like Ben was just his own beast. There will never be another player like him. There will be many imitators, but no duplicators.
He's like a creator player that you purposely nerf some of the stats with. I'm going to make him great at this, but we're going to tweak it down here.
Let's
so it's a little bit of struggle.
Let's set the height all the way up, right?
Yeah.
And make him the biggest body we possibly can.
As Finch mentioned, Ben was his own kind of player. And that's why he was the great, like Brett Favre. And I know Mike doesn't like him, but let's say for the sake of the game, he was just his own kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he became the best at that. So for anybody to ever come in that conversation, you have to be that particular kind of quarterback and then continue to do all those things that Ben did. So, I agree. These are two very great quarterbacks, and it's unfortunate when people argue or debate who's better, that there has to be somebody that's wrong. Because at the end of the day, they're both great in their own way.
Yeah.
My guy's Ben, but at the other end of this, guys, Tom Brady did win 7 Super Bowls. How can you deny that? P says, when Ben survived the motorcycle accident with no helmet, I knew he was special.
Like, he got better after it, man. Like, his brain got rewired a little bit.
And Brady had next level accuracy and timing. Go ahead.
Yeah, summer.
Oh, Finchie's not breaking up.
Hello, can you hear me? Am I there?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah. That was a bad move, Ben.
Because we went from a high to Ben crashing his face through somebody's windshield. It was tough times, man. Because we that was our first quarterback our first Super Bowl in 25 years. We were on it, like I said, we were on this huge high, and that happened, and that certainly brought the morale down. Nonetheless, he landed on his feet, guys. And he was able to rebound and do well after that as well. So we're glad for that. Let's talk about a few other things here, guys. I want to talk about one player from another team real quick, guys. Cooper DeJean, Mike. Cooper DeJean, a guy that we talked about a lot in the offseason, the draft and everything. Cooper DeJean absolutely destroying Derrick Henry, intercepting Patrick Mahomes for a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. The highest grade among all CBs in the NFL in 2024. Only 22 years old. Mike, did we miss the boat on taking somebody like a Cooper DeJean? Did all the teams miss the boat on taking somebody like Cooper DeJean? And at the end of the day, people automatically said, you know what? Well, he's a white guy. He's probably going to end up at center or at safety. Mike, did the league miss out on this guy?
It depends on what you needed in the system you play. He was playing a lot of zone back there, and Pittsburgh, we've gone to a man team, so he really wouldn't have fit into our scheme. I would have liked him because I thought he would have been good as a nice free safety back there. Let him do what he wanted to do, put Minka closer to the line, let him be a thumper, and give him some more responsibilities down low to do those tip passes. But I think other teams who run predominantly zone miss something out on him. Because you saw in college, he was a special player in college. He was making those big plays. And then you got to think, too, like we talk about with quarterbacks, it's all about the system and the team you go to. What if talents have been utilized correctly? And then team needs. We kind of rebuild our secondary through free agency, and we had to rebuild the offensive line. So I kind of understand why we went the way we did in the first round. And like P said, it's that white cornerback bias.
Well, that's why I wouldn't have taken him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have taken him because he's a white guy.
Yeah.
Not even being funny. I mean, just
because how many? Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't take. I'd take the guy that's faster or more athletic or whatever. Yeah. That's why but now, as I said, as it's playing out, again, done great things in a rookie season.
Yeah.
Winning a Super Bowl. I mean, come on, this guy's going to be tough. And Finch, let me ask you this: is correlating to this question, is player development the Steelers' main problem or one of our main problems? And if we would continue, these guys, we should have got Jalen Carter. We should have got Cooper DeJean. We should have got this guy. Do these guys still become what they are in the Steeler development? And we're just that far off? Or do you think that we could have picked these guys up and they could still have the same production as they do on the teams that they respectfully went to?
They wouldn't have the same success that they would have, that they currently have. You know what I mean? It's like you just mentioned before. It's certain people are just given this gift of falling into the perfect situation.
Right.
And the Eagles have a great coaching staff, great recruiters. They've managed to find these great young players, and they knew that these guys would be the guys. They knew that if they could put Cooper DeJean on their squad, that they would be able to put together a scheme and plan within their already established plan that would work, and they proved it, right? All they needed was a great athlete with a good head on his shoulders, and Cooper was the guy. Does he come to Pittsburgh and do as well? Probably not. Now, he is a great athlete. He's definitely going to thrive. Probably anywhere he goes, he's going to do okay. Is he going to do a pick six in a Super Bowl, though? Probably not, because he's not going to be on a team that's built around him the way that defense is. Not around him, but incorporates him so well into it.
And Mike and Finch, let me ask you this. He said on the board, he said, speed is speed, though. Now,
right. Speed and talent is speed and talent.
I disagree. Listen, we've played sports. We've watched sports. I don't want the white. Listen, it's the NFL. You're at the highest level. As good as he is, I just know that there's somebody that's not white that's probably better. I'm just saying. Yeah. But I wish him all the luck. I hope everything goes well. I'm just saying I wouldn't build my defense around him.
Yeah, like we would have had, because he went 40th overall. We had picks 20 and 51.
Yeah.
So he was like sandwiched in between. You take Fatano at 20, trade up, get Cooper DeJean, and then miss out on a Zach Frazier, your center of your line, because we were trying to rebuild the line in the draft because we did the secondary and free agency. So it's like if we would have did it opposite, rebuild the O line in free agency and get secondary the way Philly did, getting Quinion Mitchell in the first round, 2 picks after we picked, and then Steelers maybe trading up and getting Cooper DeJean. Like we were talking about, how would that have fared? Would Quinion Mitchell been a lockdown corner the way he is?
Where did Mitchell end up going, Mike? Because I know
he went to Philly. He picked.
He's on that team too.
Yeah. He was their starting man corner, and on the back end, Cooper DeJean was playing a lot of zone.
Draft. You got DeJean and Quinion. Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that, Mike.
Yeah, like Howie Roseman for the past couple of years has been putting together a damn good draft, and that's why. Who's the other guy that works with Omar Khan? He came from Philly. He worked under Howie Rose. Yeah, he worked under Howie Roseman. So you're kind of, they built their team in the trenches, and that's kind of how you see the Steelers.
They get Jalen Carter last year in the draft. This year, you get Cooper DeJean, Quinion Marshall. That team is winning. That team is winning everything they do right now. Let me jump back on the board here. Going back to Ben here, you know what? This is funny, real quick. P, as I said, Ben was able to land on his feet. P said he landed on his face, which is actually more accurate. I'm sorry, Corey says Ben is my favorite QB. I'm just trying to be realistic as all.
Yeah.
I can't allow my bias to cloud my. I hear you, brother. I hear you, man.
Sometimes you got to look through those black and gold sunglasses.
Avonte Maddox, of course, amongst many names, as we talked yesterday about the rumor mill starting early here in Pittsburgh. Maddox, was a name that was a possibility for the cornerback, of course. Dante Jackson, more than likely moving on, and Maddox, probably in an overstuffed Philadelphia secondary, is probably more than likely going to be on the move. So we'll see and keep our eye. Again, I'm throwing this into a name of a hat of names.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, Avonte Maddox. So I mean, it's only Valentine's Day. That list is only going to continue to grow and grow. But I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun, guys, seeing who the possibilities may be. It's just not fun when you start seeing all those names signing everywhere else.
And that's what's going to happen, dude.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
That's what generally happens. Like I said, last year the big surprise was Patrick Queen. Let's see who the big surprise is this year.
I was pretty shocked with Russell Wilson last year. That was a pretty big pickup. That was
it all happened like within 3 days, Finch. Remember they got Russell Wilson, Patrick Queen.
I was like, wait a minute. The Steelers not only got free agents, but these are guys I've actually heard their names before.
You're right.
Yeah. You know, the last time I can remember getting a free agent that I actually heard his name before was like maybe James Ferrier. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the only one. Like when I'm researching this stuff for like the draft stuff I'm trying to put together, I went back and I looked at Kevin Colbert's free agent classes. They were god awful.
Yeah, we didn't pick up very many.
We didn't do much at free agent forever, Mike.
You had like D'Angelo Williams, which was a good pickup, and then James Ferrier. That's it. That's
why I like this guy so much, because he's aggressive. We never ever handle free agencies the way that we do.
And he's not afraid to, like, you know, hey, if a player's not developing the way they want to, boom, gone. Or we're gonna move on from our mistake. If they go and prosper elsewhere, good for them. But we're gonna keep trying to rebuild and reload. I like Omar Khan's draft strategy and free agent strategy more. Now let's see if we can get the on-field success.
Mike, let me ask you a question real quick. Since you brought up Kevin Colbert and his strategies over the years, how come his first decade with the Steelers was so great and had like all those Super Bowl appearances, 2 wins, and his second decade was so ass?
Dan Rooney was still more heavily involved in that time. And you can like
you've made this argument before.
I subscribe to the theory that Dan Rooney was the football operations of that team. Once him and Bill Nunn more or less took over the scouting department in the 70s, boom, hitting draft classes. And then he stayed, you know, he had the vision of how this team should run. And when he took over the team, that's how it stayed. Then when he had to step down and let Art take over, you can see that's when everything started to drop. Dan Rooney was the football guy of the Steelers. That's just how that's how I see it and how I feel.
So do you think that the people that are putting up these billboards to Rooney to sell the team, do you think they feel the same way? Have you seen those?
I've seen them. Yeah, we talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
Let me get back to this message real quick, guys.
Yeah.
Corey Beaver says we got to stop getting castaway corners. We need to make a move for a real weapon. You know what? We talked about that last year, Patrick Surtain, and we certainly had our eye. Who was the defensive player of the year? We certainly had our eye on the draft for the past 3 or 4 years. You and I, Mike, there were so many corners that came and went. You see the Bryant, I can't think of the Branch, or there's just a handful of names that I'm seeing in the NFL make plays week after week after week in the NFL. These guys that we've talked about pretty frequently on the show, saying, "Man, it'd be great to get this Ringo, or it would be great to get this guy," and they are all making plays in the league right now. So. We do. I mean, obviously, we have an issue at the corner position, you know, that starting slot, and Mike, and again, as we were mentioning yesterday, the inside, the nickel corner, you know, this is going to be a concern. So it's very interesting, guys, because what we needed, we now need a little bit more, because players are going to be moving. And so it's going to be interesting to see how we play this free agency season out, to see how we play this draft out, to see who we do sign, bring back. That's what I said. This guy's, it's not a big drop off. This is a lot of fun, and it's a continuous part of the football season, and it can be just as fun as the season sometimes.
And it's going to be fun to see, like, you know, Omar Khan showed he's not afraid to make trades, not just trade players away, but trade players into the team. And to see, you know, there might be someone, you know, we're going through looking at free agents. It wouldn't surprise me if Omar Khan and them, they're looking at rosters. Okay, who's coming up? Who fits our scheme that new coaches have gone to other teams. They're going to bring in their own system. Now, hey, if they going into a zone on their back end and they were a man team, what good cornerbacks are out there that we could probably sing a trade for?
A couple questions on the board, guys. Let me go to Sticky B first. Sticky B says, guys, do you think Najee comes back? Me personally, I don't think so, but I like him. I want him to come back. Mike, I think, has the opposite opinion. But, Mike, what do you think? Does Najee come back? And Finch afterwards, please.
I'm not sure if he comes back. I wouldn't be opposed to him coming back. I like the rotation that they use with him and Jalen Warren. I just, if Najee was drafted in the second, third round, I'd love him. Let's bring him back. That first round pedigree thing, it kind of puts a bias towards my evaluation of him.
Yeah.
But I like the 1-2 punch of Jalen Warren and him. And if he comes back and it's still a 1-2 punch, I'm happy for it.
Finch?
I feel like the Steelers might give him the best offer. I don't think he's going to come back, but I think there's a good shot that other teams are going to look at him and think, you know what? I don't think he's for us. I really don't know where he would fit in really well. I like Najee. He doesn't fit in that great here. Let's be honest. Like, the line in front of him hasn't been great. That's a big part of it. But I don't know if he is that attractive right now to other teams. I do think that first round pedigree has a little bit to do with it. Yeah. I think a lot of guys think the way you do, Mike, and I think that a lot of people understand that pedigree brings a couple extra bucks.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if the Steelers do make him a deal and that it ends up being the best deal that he gets offered.
Yeah, but like Ryan always says, so where you're getting out of Najee. You're gonna get 1,000 yards a year. You're gonna bet like 60 yards a game. You're gonna have a couple games he takes over, so what you're getting from him. And if you're comfortable with that, and him and
he's
Jalen
consistent.
Warren, you have those two. And so is Jalen Warren.
He might be a good complimentary back. I don't know if he's a feature.
And his numbers, as I always mention, they are consistently better than everybody in the league. The past 4 years, his 4 years in the league, he did reach 1,000 yards all 4 seasons. Nobody else did that in the league.
Yeah.
So you do want to keep that in mind. Jen, guys, she says, our Valentine's Day player wish list. Who are you crushing on? Mike, I'm going to start with you. Who are you crushing on? Who do you want?
Oh.
Who's your ultimate Valentine's wish list guy?
It's someone that's not going to come here.
No, let's do it from guys that have a chance of coming here. Because we could all say we want Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no. I'm going for available free agents. T. Higgins. T. Higgins is the guy I want. I think him and George be a dynamic duo. He's one of the guys I am crushing on big time. T. Higgins and Chris Godwin, the two receivers in free agency. They're my two biggest crushes right now.
You know what, Sticky B? That's it. It's that home run ability that keeps Najee from being a top level guy. But I mean, you can think of the plays where he breaks it down the sideline against the Raiders for 40-yard touch.
Yeah,
so,
it's the consistency thing with him. If he can do it, get those big plays when they're there every time. Oh my God, yes, bring him back. I'd love him because he has the ability. It's just sometimes it just doesn't click.
Finch, who you crushing on?
I like Cooper Kupp a lot.
Ooh. A lot of people do.
Now that this Trevor Lawrence thing has kind of come about, like I'm thinking about that a little bit. I was thinking about it a little yesterday when you were talking about it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, people aren't super high on him right now, but I kind of like that guy. I think he has a shot. He has long hair. People love that.
He's a Pittsburgh
that Kevin
favorite
Green
already.
Thing going on. I don't hate the idea of Trevor Lawrence coming here. I haven't really taken the time to think about how successful he could possibly be or if he would even fit into our system or whatever, but the guy is talented. He's been on an absolute shit squad of a team. I mean, I would like to see Trevor Lawrence and Cooper Kupp. I think those would be two great pickups for us. One or the other or both even,
I mean, the list is long. As I mentioned, Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence, as Mike stated, T. Higgins, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, even Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what do we need? You know what I mean? I want my crush to be somebody that we need, and all those people we need. But guys, somebody on the defensive line. I would love somebody to be dominant and to come in like a Jalen Carter from Philly or the guy Jones from Kansas. We need that so bad. If we could just get a defensive lineman that could clog up the middle and create plays and just be a terror, man, that would be a crush of mine. Corey Beaver says, what I hate is we've already invested so much money into the defense, hardly any on our offense, so we aren't all in on the defense because we won't trade for big name CBs and won't pay wide receivers either. You know what? Somebody made a good comment on the comment section the other day, Mike. They had said something along the lines of, you got a lot of rookies on the offensive side of the ball playing with rookie contracts, mostly on the offensive line. And again, you weren't really paying at number 2.
Yeah.
So, there wasn't a lot of money being dumped into the offense prior to this year. I'm wondering if that starts to change, Mike, just because, you're seeing the results on the football field.
I think it will, because on defense, we starting outside corner, that's the biggest need. And some of these guys, like, you have $43 million to go. You figure $10 million is probably going to go to Justin Fields. That's probably going to be our cornerback. Going to pay maybe another $15 million for a corner, and then use the rest of that money on your wide receiver. Upgrade that. Get T. Higgins is probably going to command around $20 million a year. If you really want him, you got the money for it. Go and do it, and you can cut a bunch of dead weight on the roster of guys that are making $13 million a year, like Preston Smith. You cut him, there's no cap penalty. So they have a lot of money to spend, and it should shift a lot to that offense. Maybe even bring in a right tackle to push, Broderick Jones, or a left tackle to be the guy right there. And you let Fatanu be your right tackle, and Broderick Jones, guess what? You were a bust. We tried, it failed. We're going to move on from you.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are set to make several offseason upgrades to Acrisure Stadium, all ahead of the 2025 season and the 2026 draft. The Steelers are looking to enhance the experience at their 24-year-old stadium. Guys, apparently the Sports and Exhibition Authority approved an $8.6 million in upgrades for the stadium. For the biggest upgrade, the Steelers will plan to overhaul the stadium's Wi-Fi network completely. That will cost the Steelers an estimated $7 million to upgrade their Wi-Fi. Also, let's see, the project manager says the Wi-Fi system in the stadium is far past due and needs an upgrade. Post-Gazette reports the upgrades will include all new cabling, 1,357 wireless access points, and single mode fiber and electric pathways that will help bolster the system. On top of that, fellas, in addition, the Steelers will install $1.6 million of bollards around the stadium designed to prevent vehicles from crashing into the buildings. The Steelers already have some around the stadiums, but this will greatly expand the number. The bollards are expected to replace many of the plotters around the Acrisure Stadium, with 10 of these expected to be removable. So, guys, I mean, some not so attractive upgrades, but I guess you need these things, right? You need your Wi-Fi up to date, and you don't want anybody smashing into the stadium with their vehicles, things like this. Guys, Acrisure Stadium spending some money, Mike.
They'll spend money on the Wi-Fi, but they won't spend money to attract better quality assistant coaches. So
yeah, we need better quality assistant coaches.
Maybe that's what it was. The coaches weren't coming here because the Wi-Fi sucked. They couldn't
there we
get
go.
on their port.
You never know what came first. Yeah, you never know.
I love that explanation. And I love that song, especially on Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Those are not sexy upgrades, Sticky B says.
The Wi-Fi is a good upgrade. And to be honest with you, the NFL, if there is a problem with the Wi-Fi, if it is outdated, the NFL might have gotten on their shit about it and said, hey, our referee Microsoft Surface tablets aren't, working as efficiently as quick. You can't do the replays as quick. I mean, that's a real possibility. We don't know that. But the Wi-Fi upgrade, it really is a big upgrade for the stadium and the team.
We'll take it. All right, guys.
They need it.
Over in Pitt football, Mike, five guys from Penn State, 4 guys from Pitt are all heading to the Combine.
Yep.
Kicker Ben Sauls. This guy's going to have a nice career in the NFL. He has always been a great kicker. Gavin Bartholomew, our tight end. Kanata Mumfield, and also Branson Taylor on the line. So good luck to all these gentlemen for both of those programs.
Yep.
Hope that they could do some awesome stuff in the NFL. We're certainly behind every single one of you. Mike, the Penguins make a minor trade. What did they get this forward? They get Matthias Laferriere for Corey and Don Vonsky. Mike, nobody really is going to pay much attention to this trade, correct?
No, unless the big hockey heads know who these guys are and can rattle off their stats and how they're going to fit in. I don't know who these guys are.
Over in Pitt basketball, they're back on the hardwood tomorrow as Miami, the Hurricanes come to town to take on the Panthers on the hardwood. That game is at 12 o'clock. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds, another preseason game. Like they're 1-1 in the preseason. The Hounds, they do take on the Columbus Real. The Columbus, Crew. The Columbus Crew 2 is the name. That's Sunday at 3:30. Mike, it's going to be fun. I'm looking for the Riverhounds to bounce back. They need a good rebound season after last year. You remember 2 years ago, they exceeded the expectations, and it was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
we're all pulling for the Riverhounds. Mike, also real quick, other thing about the Steelers I mentioned yesterday, Lainey Wilson, what's her name? Lainey Wilson, the country singer.
Yeah.
She's marrying Duck Hodges. So just if you think that you need to be a high profile guy to get a top country singer, he was 3-3. He was 3-3 as a quarterback. The man named Duck is going to. The man named Duck is getting a hot country singer wife. He was 3-3. His name.
He got himself a sugar mama. He's living the dream.
Yeah.
We aspire to be like him.
You know what? I always said I will stay home, cook, clean, whatever. You know, if I don't have to work, baby, I'll do whatever you need me.
He is going to be doing so much duck hunting now.
Yeah, right. I guess there's no. Yeah. I mean, they're both country people. There's no way they're not going to be out in the wilderness.
Oh yeah, they're going to be trudging through swamps with their dogs and their shotguns.
Jen says that was sad when the man fell to his death. I'm assuming he upset Acrisure. That was terrible. You hate to see. I think he was from the town that I actually grew up in. Didn't know him, but I believe that was what went down. Yinzer Joe says, do you guys think that the Steelers will go straight to drafting a defensive tackle because of the wide range of receivers, running backs, DBs? They do draft wide receivers pretty good, but not CBs. I'd hate to see them get another Artie Burns. Mike, take this one.
God, their draft, I don't know where they're going to go, to be honest with you, because like you said, wide receivers, we have a way of finding them from the third round on, finding a good one. Cornerbacks, like you said, it's hit or miss with the cornerbacks. We did get a new DB coach. I know the one who left was good, developing talent. So hopefully the guy that got to replace him can do that. But oh God, if we go cornerback first round, I'm worried. I want to go wide receiver round 1, D-line round 2, or vice versa, depending on what we do in free agency. For me, cornerbacks, I want to get one, a tried and true veteran, either via free agency or trade.
P says, free Brittany. Was that Brittany Griner? Is that what that? I don't know.
Griner, Britney Spears?
See, Griner was my girl. Remember, I was all about free and Brittany.
You had a huge crush on Brittany Griner.
Walter Nolan, if he's there, I'm pounding the table. Yeah.
Yep. Big old boy from Ole Miss.
Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about the website, man?
The2dumyinzers.com. It's back up and running, so check it out over there. Blog will be back next week. We get with the mock draft, merch store over there, all the links to socials. Check it out, everyone.
Yes, go check it out. Mike did get everything back up and running. Looking good. www.the2dumyinzers.com. That's www.the2dumyinzers.com. All right, guys, trivia question of the day. Trivia question of the day is a Steeler question. And, you know, this is kind of tough because I'm looking for 5. Listen, we'll kind of do it together because I don't want to screw either one ends on the questions.
Yeah.
So today, I'm looking for the Steelers' top 5 quarterbacks all time by passing yards. The top 5. You know what? Let me do it this way. Top 5. Don't look it up. The question is this. I'm looking for the top 5 quarterbacks of all time by passing yards. I'm going to give you 1, 2, and 3. Finch and Mike, both of you are to try to figure out who the last 2 are on this list. Number 1, here we go. Trivia of the day. This is how we'll do it. This makes it a little bit more fun. Steelers' top quarterbacks all time by passing yards. Number 1, no surprise, by a landslide, Ben Roethlisberger. Number 2, by no surprise, Terry Bradshaw. Number 3, some may be surprised, not me, Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart. I knew it, yeah.
All right, guys, 4 and 5. 4 and 5 is what I'm looking for. 4 and 5. Number 1 was Ben. Number 2 is Bradshaw. Number 3 was Cordell. I'm going to go to Finch first. Finch, do you know either number 4 or number 5 on this list?
I have to say, can I give both of my who I think are 4 and 5?
Mike, are you?
Or you just want?
I think
I
Mike
was
he's
writing
like-
down. I was writing down. My
Your
no, I
nose
was
is right
writing
on the
down.
microphone. I couldn't help it.
He reminded me of that kid that
couldn't
would
hear
hang
over
out
that breathing.
behind Helga Pataki on Hey Arnold and just breathe at her.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so who's your pick?
I'm sorry.
We're looking
I'm
for Steelers
sorry.
top quarterbacks all time by passing yards. Ben number 1, Bradshaw number 2, Cordell number 3. Finch, I need either 4 or 5 from you. Who falls into one of those two spots is the 4th or 5th best quarterback by passing all time?
I feel like Bubby Brister is
Bubby
there.
Brister. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mike, I'm going to turn to you for the other spot. Who is the other guy that fills either the 5th or the 4th spot? We're looking for Steelers top 5 quarterbacks all time by passing yards. Ben, Bradshaw, Cordell. Finch says Bubby.
Yeah.
Who's your pick?
I got a list of like 4 quarterbacks here. I'm gonna go with. It's probably stupid, but I'm gonna go with Tommy Maddox.
Tommy Maddox. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Okay. Couple guys on the board. Neil O'Donnell and Maddox. Roger Murray says. P says Fouts, Bradshaw / Ben Maddox. Guys, the question of the day is this: Steelers top 5 quarterbacks all time via passing yards. Number 1, Ben. Number 2, Bradshaw. Number 3, Cordell Stewart. Number 4, Finch said Bubby Brister. Finch, Bubby Brister is number 4 all time on the Steelers
Ooh.
passing list.
He's on my list.
And number 5, the last guy, Mike says Tommy Maddox. And I really think that most people believe that it came down between these two guys.
Yeah.
But
Can I
since
take a guess before you tell
But
us?
since I know who it is, because we, I lived there and I lived through it, I do know the answer to this. Mike said Tommy Maddox is his guess. Finch, who would you guess would be the last spot?
I was going to say Neil O'Donnell.
Neil O'Donnell. Guys, it is, in fact, Neil O'Donnell. He had a pretty good time when he was in Pittsburgh, I got to be
He's
honest.
on my list.
Mike's like,
Basically, the longest tenured quarterbacks are the top
Yeah,
5.
exactly.
That's what I was going for, too.
Mike was like, if I put
who's been
15
there
quarterbacks
longer?
on this list,
No,
everybody
I
will
had
be
to
on here
guess.
somewhere eventually.
You know, I was
right.
my debate between Maddox and Neil. I forgot how long Neil O'Donnell was here for.
He was
Yeah,
there.
and Maddox
I
only played
lived
like
through that
2.5
era,
seasons or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, I was
He
like,
didn't play
how-
long. He was great, but he didn't play very
Yeah,
long.
I was like,
Yeah.
how long did O'Donnell how long did he start? Because like my memory of that era, it gets jumbled of how long
It
players
went
were-
right from Bubby to O'Donnell. So when
Yep,
Bubby left in
yeah.
like 91, 92,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was a buff. I thought there was like 1 or 2 other guys
No,
in
it
between
was
that
right-
era, but yeah,
right from one to the next. So that is, guys, the top 5 Steelers all time by passing yards is Ben, Terry, Cordell, Bubby, and Neil. And I'm sure Tommy Maddox ain't far behind Neil there. P says awake apnea. Awake apnea was his latest.
Shut up, Pete.
I know everyone's probably wondering what the hell's going on.
It is my nap time, you know. I do work 3rd shift. Okay, come on now, give me a break here. And I'm fat and out of shape.
A couple of things about this weekend,
I
guys.
like it. I like it a lot.
It is NBA All-Star Weekend. If you're into the NBA, that is going on this weekend. I know they have the young talent game. They have like the All-Star game. They do all that fun stuff. That's this weekend, guys. The NBA All-Star game. If you're going to check that out. Also, don't forget Finch's show, the Cranky Jagoffs. It got moved from tonight to Sunday.
Yes.
So check Finch out and Tim out on Sunday night at 9:30, Valentine's Day. Their old ladies had got made plans for them, so they're not going to be on tonight. Don't forget, if you're going to watch the 2 Cranky Jagoffs, it is moved to Sunday. Sunday, Finch, 9:30. Go check out Finch and Tim. I know I sure will. Also, guys, Derpy. I thought he was going to be here, but he's sick. Mike, I have to present him. I was going to present him with his award. Of course, he was the Picks champion 2 years in a row. I mean,
I know.
I think this is the point where he might have to make a speech soon because he
might have to.
He's been so dominant. So we do have to present that to him. So we'll get to that early next week when he does come back, guys. Either that or we'll just all go to Permani's and eat his food. So
that works for me.
That sounds cool with me. Yeah, let's do that.
Everybody's head came to attention as soon as I said that.
Food?
I don't know, Derpy. You're up. You got some competition, buddy. What else, guys? I know it's Valentine's Day. Everybody have a great day and weekend with your sweetheart. A lot of things going on here in Pittsburgh over the weekend, guys. As I mentioned, if you want to catch the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they will be playing the Columbus Crew 2. The Pitt Panthers will be squaring off against the Miami Hurricanes. That's tomorrow at noon. The NBA All-Star Weekend. Hockey, they're on their hiatus, of course. They have the tournament going on right now.
Nope.
So you can keep up with Crosby and the guys. They are playing all around the what is it? It's four or five teams, like 4 teams.
It's four teams.
The Four Nations or
The
something.
Four
like that.
Nations, yeah.
Yeah. U.S. Canada is this week, and that should be a really, really good game. Those two teams are stacked.
So you got that, and then also, Mike, the unrivaled, the women's 3-on-3 league. I know that is coming to an end. It must be just been a short, abbreviated league because I know they have some kind of tournament or playoffs coming up as well. So there's a lot of good sports on over the weekend. Unfortunately, none of them are our Steelers, but we will continue, guys. We'll continue to constantly dig to the bottom of everywhere we could find the latest up-to-date Steeler news for you.
Yep.
And we'll certainly be back. We'll surely be back first thing on Monday at our regular time to talk about all that and everything that went down this weekend and much, much more. But again, do not forget Finch and Tim tonight will not be on. The Two Cranky Jagoffs is moved to Sunday, 9:30. Stop by, say what's up, support them, hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that kind of fun stuff. I know that Finch and Tim will certainly be happy to hear from you. Stop by 9:30 on Sunday.
Check them out.
Michael, anything before we do get ready to wrap up for the week, sir? This is 692. Next week we come back on Monday. It'll be episode 693. Just 7 short episodes after that. So the big 700 in season 7. Anything heading into the weekend, man?
Other than everyone have a good weekend. Thanks for tuning in. There are rumors going around about Matt Stafford. Real quick, there's a rumor that he might be going to the Giants for the 3rd overall pick. So the asking price for Stafford seems kind of high.
Yeah.
I don't know if Pittsburgh will be able to or willing to meet that price.
Yeah, interesting. Vince, what do you got, man, going into the weekend, brother?
Just Valentine's Day with the family tonight, working Saturday and Sunday. Not too much exciting stuff going on until Sunday night until we do the show. So just
one thing that
trying
I
to
just
truck
realized, the term old lady, doesn't come out as fluently when you're talking about somebody else's wife. Finch and Mike and their old ladies are going out on.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right now.
Doesn't have the
unless we're all
The
in
context is key. Yes.
Unless we're in like a
context is key.
biker gang.
Right.
Hey, how's your old lady? What's your old lady up to?
Yeah,
Hey, your old
yeah.
lady fell off down the road.
Yeah. It doesn't work well with guys like us.
Yinzer Joe said congratulations to the Duck. It's his engagement to Laney. Absolutely. Good luck. Good luck. And hopefully you have a great future, guys. I do want to say thank you to everybody for stopping, checking us out, and hanging out with us today. We appreciate each and every one of you. We truly, honestly do. We wouldn't do it without you. Thank you so much, everybody. I do want to say thank you, everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting here on the show. Everybody at home, thank you so much. Guys, again, the weekend, some things going on, but for the most part, again, we'll keep digging, finding as much scoop on this free agent speculation and everything that goes with that. And we'll be back to talk about all that and much, much more. First thing Monday morning, we hope to see everybody back. For Finch, for Mike, myself, the Two Dum Yinzers, everybody have a great Valentine's Day weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Boom.
Yeah.